So everybody wants to know what's the update on the immigration bills running through Congress. We've been talking about the big U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021 that Joe Biden presented to Congress 2 weeks ago. And I've been talking about recently that there could be a problem passing the entire bill as one big, huge legislation. And there was a lot of talk within Congress of breaking the bill up into smaller legislations and trying to pass bills that are easy to pass. And then remember, Yo-Yo and Vanessa, I said on the harder things, we're going to see if Joe wants to flex his muscle on immigration or on expanding Obamacare. He's not going to be able to use his political capital on everything. So right now, like we talked about last week, they have split up smaller bills from the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021. The U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021 is still there. They're taking parts of it out and are considering parts of it on their own. They say March 15th, they're going to have a big push. It's going to be Immigration Legislation Week. That's next week. And they're going to have a big push, especially by the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, to get something passed in the House. The three things that they believe they will be able to pass very quickly, or hopefully will be able to pass quickly, and we talked about this the other day, and it's now coming out in the news. The DREAM Act, amnesty for agricultural workers. We didn't talk about this one. It's also being discussed in the news today, the No Ban Act, which would bar future presidents from limiting immigration based on religion, which was a thinly veiled rejection of former Trump's so-called Muslim ban, which basically was a religious ban. So the three things that you may see come out of the House of Representatives, hopefully relatively soon, they're going to make a big political thing next week is Immigration Week, and we'll see how far some bills get pushed. But you're going to see DREAM Act. You're going to see amnesty for agricultural workers. And by the way, if nothing else passes, all of a sudden everyone's going to be an agricultural worker. Watch this. Okay? Everyone's coming out of the woodworks, literally, like I'm picking apples for the last 5 years. But, we'll see what happens. And the third thing coming out is the No Ban Act. So the DREAM Act, meaning that you entered the United States as a child under the age of 18, we'll see how long they negotiated out in terms of the specifics. How long did that child have to be here under the age of 18 before they are qualified for the DREAM Act? And then there's going to be a negotiation. How many years did you have to work on a farm to get an amnesty for working on a farm? And then what are they going to accept as evidence of you working on a farm? What are they going to accept as evidence that you entered the United States before the age of 18? So that's going to be a big debate. Just like, for example, today, just because Joe Biden, I'll give you this as a perfect example. Okay, we talk about just because Joe Biden puts in this legislation, and even the House of Representatives passed it, $1,400 stimulus checks for everybody who makes under, I think it was $120,000 or something like that. They are now cutting it down to, they're only going to give $1,400 checks to anybody, individual who makes less than $80,000, and they're going to cut it off to joint filers at $150,000 and head of household at $120,000. So in other words, what Joe Biden originally said is if you earned, as a joint filer over $200,000, you were going to get a $1,400 check. That's not going to happen anymore because they got to negotiate it out. So things get smaller and smaller and smaller as it gets negotiated out. So less people are going to get this stimulus check, although the stimulus check will go to the most needy for sure. And same thing's going to happen with immigration. He gives this whole entire bill, it'll get chipped away. We don't know what ultimately is going to happen. Democrats think they're being smart, and I hope they are. I don't know. I'm not a political tactician. I'm just telling you what I see happening. They think they're being smart by being able to pass the DREAM Act, the Agricultural Amnesty Act, which is 3 of the 5 amnesties. The other 2 amnesties in that bill, which was a general amnesty for everybody in the TPS, they feel is going to be harder. And the No Ban Act, they think that they'll be able to pass that fast. And then there'll be a negotiation for the rest of the bill later in the year, whether that's in April or May or June or July, and we'll see how much of that bill gets shipped away. So
at that point, it's not really his fault, right? Because he's actually coming out and saying the bills that he wants to pass. Like, it's not his fault that it's chipping away and it gets.
I mean, I don't know if it's his fault or not his fault. I mean, he's dealt the cards he's dealt with. Politics is all about priorities.
I say that because I don't think a lot of people know, how it really works.
Right.
They think that whatever the president wants is whatever the president gets,
No.
I think this is a great lesson right here to show that, it's not that, and you can't just hate on the president just because he can't get everything he promised.
That's right. I mean, the president can make executive actions, and basically an executive action is a regulation that's, that puts into effect a process of a legislation that already happened. And a lot of the reasons why these executive actions get overturned by the courts, they're saying that, you're overstepping your bounds. You're not even saying how a law is going to work. You've just made up a new law, and there's a gray line between the two. And even Trump couldn't do everything he wanted to do. I mean, Trump wasn't able to build a wall. I mean, he was able to build a wall. He didn't get Mexico to pay for it. He wasn't able to end immigration. He wasn't able to do a lot of the things he wanted to do. He kept talking about for 4 years, we're going to build the most beautiful roads and the most beautiful buildings. He couldn't get one legislation passed to build anything. What did he build? Nothing, and he's a builder. So, I mean, ultimately, the president is the one who sets the agenda, for sure. President sets the agenda, says, this is what I want. But he's got to get his party behind him, and he's got to be able to convince some legislators in the other party to vote for his priorities. And then that's, again, flexing your muscle. That's trading, making compromise, saying, I'll give you this if you give me this. It's a lot of conversation. What are you going to give me? It's like a business deal.
Yeah.
I mean, you're making a business deal. So in the end, it's about his priorities. You only have so much capital. You only have so many chips to trade away. Do you want to trade everything away for immigration? You want to trade it away for, there's healthcare, there's transportation, there's environment. So there's a lot. And I'm going to say this. It just came out, new polling. The most polarizing issue in America today is immigration. Americans across the board, surprisingly, have very similar priorities, except when it comes to immigration. So it really underscores the challenge that immigration advocates and lawmakers who want to pass immigration reform in the coming weeks, have. Because you have either an extraordinarily large minority of people or even a majority of Americans who are disagreeing on what to do, and it kind of, helps explain why Trump opened his CPAC, which was the Conservative Political Action Committee speech. Those are the real, Trumpers. He was there on Sunday and he opened it up. What did he talk about? Immigration. Okay. It was this top issue to get his voters all riled up. So the survey bolstered Morning Consult polling out last month that found Biden's immigration moves were his least popular among all of his early executive actions, largely due to the strong opposition from Republicans. So 48% of voters opposed Biden's plan to allow 125,000 refugees into the country. Only 39% support it. Immigration, since I was a lawyer in 1993, I've heard it every year. Immigration is the third rail of politics, meaning that third rail is the rail on the subway with the electricity, and if you touch it, you get killed. Meaning that, anyone who touches immigration, loses their job. Biden, he wants to do something, but he has to be politically astute as well. And, he doesn't want to lose the Democratic majority in the House and the Senate in 2022. He's tackling immigration early because hopefully people will forget it by the time 2022 comes around. That's the idea. But how much political capital is he going to give to immigration? We'll find out. We will find out. Meanwhile, talking about 2022 and 2024 election, right now, the 2022 election, the 2024 election, 2022 for Congress and 1/3 of the Senate, and 2024 for president, the election is going to be determined now in the next 18 months. Not from any legislation, but from all of the different rules and laws that Republicans and Democrats are trying to put into law, both on a state level and on a federal level, to either limit people from voting or increase voting. Obviously, Democrats want to increase voters. Why? Because if on a macro level, if you counted every American, more Americans are liberal than conservative. So if every American registered to vote who was eligible to vote and voted, the Democrats would win every time. Problem is, the Republicans, they want to limit the number of people who vote. They try to discourage people from voting. So, for example, in Arizona, they have a requirement that you have to go and vote in a precinct. And people who can't get to the precinct, well, too bad. You're not going to vote. Democrats, on the other hand, they want to increase voting. They're making laws to allow people to vote online, to download apps and register to vote. Because who's going to do that? Younger people. Who's going to get up and physically go to a polling place is an older person.
Right.
Generationally, older people are going to be more Republican, younger people are going to be more Democrat. You know, especially now, take young people, minorities. Are they going to take the energy up to get up and go register to vote into a polling place? But wouldn't a young person say, oh, yeah, I'll go on my phone and register 2 seconds?
A lot more people.
Right, exactly. Republicans know that.
Not even just younger people. I mean, families. There were a lot of families that couldn't go and vote because they couldn't take all their kids or it was too far for them. So the fact that they would do that, I mean, it's still catered more to the Democratic, family, like the lower income families that, have to stay at home. That's obviously a reason the Republicans wouldn't want that.
So you're going to hear in the Supreme Court right now, they're looking at the Voting Rights Act of Arizona that limits who can vote and where you can register to vote and whether people can bundle votes. In other words, you can't make it to the voting place and somebody can take your vote for you, limiting the number of people who can actually go vote. As a matter of fact, there have been 253 bills introduced within 43 states since Trump's loss in the election in November to limit the numbers of people who are allowed to vote, including in Georgia. Think about if you're able to limit the voters in Georgia, maybe Trump would have won. Think about it.
Of course.
Okay? So really, the election, they're already fighting the elections of 2022 and 2024 right now, and it's all based on who are they going to allow to vote. I mean, it would be fair to everyone should be allowed to vote.
Right.
But Republicans don't want that. Yeah, Republicans don't want that.
Just like Trump wanted to stop the voting when he found out he was losing. Like, what are you talking about? It's not legal.
Exactly. Meanwhile, according to statistics from the Johns Hopkins University, those are our people who tell us what's going on with coronavirus. 517,000 dead Americans from coronavirus. What do you think of Texas? Did you see that? Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, he's rescinding state mask mandates. He says, everybody, no one needs to wear a mask anymore in Texas. Businesses can open up. Restaurants can open up 100%. Clubs. Everything is open in Texas as of the end of the day today. Full capacity, 100%. Do whatever the heck you want. Mississippi, Ohio, Louisiana, also going to be doing the same thing. Now, less than 7% of people in Texas have actually been vaccinated. In Mississippi, the number is 7.5%. And earlier this week, the CDC reminded everyone that COVID is spreading. Even President Biden said, he said today, whoever's saying this are Neanderthals. He called the governor of Texas a Neanderthal because, basically, we're not out of the woods yet. And you know what? And quite frankly, if Texas wants to go infect each other and that's what they want to do there, then fine. But people from Texas are going to come to New York and elsewhere, go infect other people who are trying to be vigilant.
That is very interesting to me, especially because I have family in Texas and my whole family has been asking, I don't know why they're asking me, but like asking me to find like anywhere that like some of my older family members can get their vaccines because they want to get their vaccines. They're in their late 70s and 80s and they still haven't got their vaccines because they can't find anywhere to get it. So for this guy to just like without them, you know, people that actually need the vaccines have not got it and they're just going to open up the whole state. That's ridiculous. It gives me the same kind of vibe of Trump, like doesn't care about the people, is just probably cares about the money. You know, that's crazy though.
The only true facts in life are science. Science is true.
Right.
Okay. And anybody who wants to argue and say science is not true, science is true. It's true because it's been proven true. So to sit there and argue science is wrong, it's the only true thing in the world. It is.
I don't know. Texas is
and the fact that you said it was less than 7% that got vaccinated, that is so true. It's crazy because I literally have been asking people, where can my elder family members in Texas get vaccinated? It's crazy.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
There they are.
During a quest to find an apartment, this man right here has been labeled New York City's hottest roommate. As part of his search for a room to rent in Brooklyn or downtown Manhattan, Saverio Pescucci recently took to the Gypsy Housing group on Facebook and included a handful of photos of himself to put a face to the ad. The Tuscany, Italy native's post quickly went viral, netting some 600 likes, more than 400 comments, mostly having nothing to do with him finding an apartment. He said, I saw a lot of people were posting pictures of themselves, like selfies and casual photos to show that they're not sociopaths or what kind of lifestyle they have. I did the same, but I was not imagining it would turn into an episode of The Bachelor. Among the Italian stallion's 5 photos was one of him holding up his toned arms in excitement while on vacation in Arizona. Another one that shows Pescucci, who studied at Milan's prestigious La Scala Ballet Academy, shirtless in a dance move. Of course, there he is. There he is in his Speedo. He posts his yellow Speedo. Come on, he didn't think anybody would say anything.
You know, he looks like the guy from what is it, Mad Men? Like that one photo.
Oh my gosh, he does. I love. Oh my God, yes.
Right, doesn't he? That's who I thought he was. So listen, I've used the Gypsy Housing little group thing on Facebook, but I never posted no thirst photos like that with my shirt off.
Did you post your Valentine's angel with your little thing?
Right. Now I wish I was looking for one because like now I want to post a thirst trap and maybe get interviewed by New York Post. Damn.
You know, let me tell you something. This guy, he knew what he was doing. He can't be turning around. He can't be turning around and go, what? Where?
There's water falling on his face. He has a little yellow Speedo. How are you gonna tell me that you didn't expect for everybody to thirst over you? You know what you was doing, brother.
You know what?
But kudos.
He was a pure thirst trap. It was a pure thirst trap.
Maybe.
He ain't Jessica Leamy's cup of tea. He is not Jessica Leamy's cup of tea.
He's not Jessica Leamy's cup of tea.
Well, Jessica Leamy, I'm gonna. I hate to break it to you, but you're not his cup of tea either, because he said he is a very calm, very cool, and gay man. So.
Yeah, I don't think Jessica Leamy can offer him much then.
Nah.
I don't think Jessica Leamy is calm or a man. All right. Meanwhile, Salma Hayek, you know who she is, the actress, right?
Yeah.
And you know she's well known for her breasts. She's going to be taking on a new project at HBO called a comedy where a 40-year-old woman's boobs talk to her. What the heck is this? A series is an adaptation of the novel A Boob's Life, How America's Obsession Shaped Me and You by Leslie Lehr, which is set to be released March 2nd and now is available to pre-order. So I guess it's out. Came out 2 days ago. Let's see what this half-hour comedy is about. It's about a woman named Leslie who finds herself in a crisis. She turned 40 years old, and her life gets turned upside down when her boobs start talking to her, forcing her to look at herself in a completely different light. Which leads me to ask a question, Vanessa. I've never asked you this before. What? Have your boobs ever talked to you? Have you ever, has that been like a fantasy? Like you look down, like my boobs are talking to me or something?
I mean, I might talk to them about them talking back.
All right.
I don't know.
I don't know about that, Shell. I'm not sure about that one. Let's move on. Now we're coming to what Vanessa talked about a little earlier.
Oh.
All right. After staying home for nearly a year, Americans would give anything to hit the road again. The desperate vacationers said they would be willing to give up love, sex, money in exchange for a trip. Let's see what the statistics show. More than 80% of those polled said travel is a part of a well-rounded life. I agree. To that end, nearly half said they would give up their job. 38% said they would give up sex for a year. 1/4 would fork over all their savings, and 1 in 5 said they would dump their partner if they meant they can get on a plane and take a trip somewhere. Wow, that is harsh.
That's pretty deep.
That is harsh. All right, I would not give up my job. I would not give up sex for a year. I would not give up all my savings. I would not dump my partner. None of that. I would be a no on all of that. What about you, Vanessa? And I know your partner's watching.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Well, so what's the checklist again?
48% said they'd give up their job. I'm listening on that one. 38% said, right, they would give up sex for a year. 1/4 said they would fork over all their savings, and 1 in 5 said they would dump their partner. I would say no to everything.
I would say no to everything because I love all the things that I do.
Right.
A whole year without the shagadelic is a little, I'm not too sure.
What about you, Yo-Yo? What would you give up for a year? Would you give up anything? What can you give up?
None of them.
What can you give up?
Absolutely none of them. None of them. I will not give up any of them. I need money. I like my job. Definitely not giving up the shag. And no, why would you? To find a partner in the first place in this day and age is like finding a needle in a haystack. So I definitely wouldn't give that up.
Right, that's how I'm saying. Like every time I ever think about being single again, I'm like, why would I do that to myself?
Exactly.
I don't know how scientific this poll is, but I don't buy it.
Right. I actually want to interview the people who said that they would give those up. Like what?
All right, and in some anti-hump day news. Some speculated that couples isolated together during lockdowns might produce a year-end baby boom. That this would be, we would start a baby boom generation. Well, 5 U.S. states have provided monthly birth data through December. Arizona, California, Florida, Hawaii, and Ohio. And the reports show large declines 9 months after COVID was declared a national emergency. More than 50,000 fewer births occurred in these states. In California, the largest state by population, births fell by 19%. I know why. I can guess why. Because people who really want to get pregnant, would you want to, get pregnant during COVID and, especially in the beginning when you're like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to have a job. My partner's going to have a job. I don't know how this COVID's going to affect my pregnancy, how it's going to affect my unborn child. I can understand why it went down. I think a lot of people put off having babies, if anything.
I thought the opposite. I thought that more people had babies because I found, especially celebrities, well, maybe because I did see a lot more celebrities have babies during the pandemic. And it was actually a running joke, but it kind of makes sense. They are already making money. They make money just with posting a video or a picture on Instagram. So like they're kind of steady. But now it makes sense to maybe like just us regular people. But I think celebrities and like people who have money, they've been popping babies out because I've seen a lot of them.
Well, see, when Brad put it that way, but at the same, when we first started the conversation, I'm like, oh, this is totally a boom year because I have so many pregnant people around me. Like, I'm definitely one of those people that had, all my friends were definitely shagging, heavy during quarantine.
Right. Nothing else to do.
A lot of my friends were furloughed and, were fortunate to be able to go back to work. And I think they knew that was the case. I don't know if they purposely planned, but since we in here, let's just do it.
There was nothing else to do but shag during the pandemic. We are all at home.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. We got You know, do we want to watch Tiger King or we want to make a baby? I mean, you know.
Why not do both?
Let's
Do both. Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.